Crafty Boys Show, the best internet program on the face of this fair earth. And that's about it.
With colored pull tabs.
With colored pull tabs. Wow. The fact that you are rocking some significant a beer of late, I'm impressed. It must be you must be on the mend.
I seem to be doing okay, so I'm just gonna fly with it, and I am still working
it's
with
one
the doctor.
beer a
So.
week that you know.
Well,
It's not a
yeah,
big
that's
deal.
kind of what I'm thinking too. I should be able to get away with that. So,
Yeah.
but
So
we'll see.
We'll see. Very good, very good. Well, before we talk about beer, I want to open with this because I just love this today. Coming out of the Toronto Star, this particular graphic here. Let me tell you how rough we have it in Canada from the people driving the trucks, the whole Ottawa thing, now that the invasion of Crimea has started. And it to me, it really speaks my whole what I've been spouting for eons is that the Canadians, actually, I'm going to blanket North Americans, don't really know what tyranny really is. And now that Ukraine is being invaded, of course, which started during our show last week, by the way.
Yes.
I
know.
We finished. I walked in the living room and
What?
Allison's like, yeah, so half an hour ago they invaded the Ukraine. So it's been a whole week, and it just kind of, if you feel that you have any sort of tyranny in Canada, I got to say that there are definitely versions of tyranny, and unfortunately, in the ideas
Being
of
asked to
the
wear a
people
mask isn't it.
yeah, it's definitely not one of them. So there you go. We also had DeSantis, the governor, or whatever, that dude in Florida, yelling at people during his press conference today, who were wearing masks, standing behind him, and he told them they were all fools and ridiculous people and whatever. So that kind of shows you the quality of that individual. So enough of that crap. Let's talk about beer because that's what we're here to do. So who wants to go first
have
tonight?
Something to say about Floridans. So
who's ready to go first? Locke, I think you.
I think Locke is
on your beer.
I think Locke is. All right. So here's what I am drinking this evening. It's called Roman Candle IPA.
Oh,
excellent.
Now, check this on out. This is 6.8% alcohol per volume by Bellwoods Brewery, which is in somewhere in Toronto, Ontario. Drink it fresh, do not age. Keep refrigerated. This is very much your hazy, grapefruity kind of an IPA experience. And when I say grapefruit juice, I mean like not too sweet. It's got, like that juiciness. It's super citrusy and all of that, but it's like an actual grapefruit, and then it's, like it's tangy, you know what I mean? But it's got that sort of bitiness, you know what I mean? Like spicy somehow.
Not too tart, not too sweet.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying this quite a bit, but I would like to spend a few moments talking about the tin. Now, what strikes me about this is, no, that's too much light. That's maybe about optimal there. Yeah. So let's try to show this off here. See what we got going on here?
Very colorful.
Yeah. And
I like it.
You note how it's sort of like, it looks like a sort of overlay of sort of flat colored print.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the letters Roman candle there, each one a different color. So it looks like a kind of an old school print job. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what I find interesting about that is when you start really digging down into what is going on there, where are we in history right now? Because this is a brand new product. Nobody, I can tell you this, nobody in the, what decade is this? You see, here's the funny thing: is if I'd encountered this tin in the '80s, I would have assumed that it was retro '50s. But if I encountered the same tin in the '90s, I would have assumed that it was retro, I don't know, '70s.
Do you guys remember that that popcorn? They used to come in like a box with like a picture of like a pink elephant or something on the front.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing. It's sort of generically retro, such that I can't tell whether it's the '80s pretending to be retro '50s, or the '90s pretending to be retro '70s, or maybe retro '60s. But where we are now is in 2022, and I guess what I'm saying is there's something retro about this, but it's gone past the point where the retro. I mean, today I would look at this, and I think my first reaction was that it was kind of retro '80s, because that's what retro is right now. Is the '80s are big, but I mean the crazy thing about it is the past has been recirculated enough times that I can't tell what decade of retro this is retro referring to, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So here we are in is now really the end of the Cold War because we're back to a shooting one? Or is this a new Cold War, just the hot beginning of one? Or did the Cold War actually end? Or didn't it end? Yeah, like
I think we're having like a throwback period.
For Russia, is this their Iraq war? I mean, denazification or weapons of mass destruction. I think weapons of mass destruction is probably a more carefully manicured lie, but they're both evidently lies. You see what I mean? And we're at a point where we're recycling our behaviors so much that I'm getting vertigo. Is that retro that I referred to vertigo?
I suppose.
When you think of it, Locke, it's actually an amazing feat of advertising, because they are getting us and shit, probably our parents, because we can all identify a retro era that is our own retro. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But let's bring it back to reality just for a minute in terms of what's not the social construction, but what's actually here. And the joke of it all is that what's actually here, what's in this tin, would have been unrecognizable as beer in any of the decades that I've just described. Because in all of those decades, as you and I well know, people thought beer was exclusively either Labatt's Blue or Molson Canadian.
Yes.
Let's not forget Lucky.
Lucky was craft beer back then.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, it was.
Craft beer would have been extra old stock because it had the extra percent.
You know what's funny? I saw extra old stock in the liquor store, and just for a short moment thought, maybe I should buy some of that. Because I have no memory of what it tastes like. Like it's something I have had like once, and I have no idea what it was.
Be thankful for small mercies, my friend.
Who wants to go next? You ready, Dave? You ready, Alan? Who's ready?
Yeah, Dave, go for it.
All right,
Dave. Instruct us on your beer choice of the week.
Hey, there ain't much to say actually, but I found this bad boy here, Slackwater Brewing, which is a new one to us. Alan was able to grab it too, as you can see.
Yeah.
And this comes to us from Penticton in beautiful Supernatural, BC. Sorry, I don't think it's Supernatural anymore, but whatever. But yes, Penticton, a very, very minimal label, In contrast to Locke's really cool example of a tin. This thing is very modern, pastiche kind of, cut up tight
Pastiche.
graphic work. Well, come on, give me a better one, Alan.
I don't know.
Give me
I
a
don't
better
even
one.
know what that means.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
big word.
Sorry.
It looks
It's
like
French, isn't it?
It's entertaining some sort of pastel kind of
Yeah.
colors.
It's graphic.
It's
graphic.
it's kind of
There's no
like
question.
somebody ate like a carpet sample book and threw it up all over the place.
Okay, I
Yeah,
like that. I
it's-
could work with that. But here's the
Anyway,
funny thing.
so what is this called, Dave? It's from Slackwater Brewing, but what is the beer?
Yeah, this is the hilarious part. Fiume Bianco. I don't even know. I'm not Italian. I don't know
It's
if
an
I'm saying that
Italian
right.
Pilsner.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of excited about this because I've only ever had one Italian Pilsner before, and that was with Shane in our Space Case 12 Days of Christmas pack.
Was that this
we
year?
did. Yeah, that
This
was,
year,
last
Okay.
year. And it was one of the best beers I've ever had. So I'm interested to see how this one stacks up. Now, I don't know, and maybe Locke can comment on this. What exactly is an Italian Pilsner as opposed to a regular run of the mill Pilsner? But I'm interested to know.
Well, so a Pilsner, Pilsen is a place, and a Pilsner was a style of beer that came from Pilsen. So an Italian Pilsner is obviously not from Pilsen because then it wouldn't be Italian. But so ultimately what it refers to is an attempt to do justice to that style. So what I would expect from an Italian one, being at least my experience of Italy, is that it's sort of warmer than I very often am up for. I expect it's probably going to be crisp and have a sort of a bright, maybe slightly bitter finish.
Okay, so that's interesting. I would expect a regular Pilsner. Now, let's be honest. Some of the Pilsners I've had are the low grade variety. I find them to be very bitter, not as in an IPA kind of bitter. It's just there's just some sort of like a bitterness in it that kind of to me is off-putting. I find that this is much more mellow, and I found that the same thing with the Phillips Italian Pilsner as well. Much more mellow. This is probably the most quaffable beer I've ever had. It is really and that's not to say that it's watery or anything. It certainly isn't. There's a lot of flavor here.
What's the carbonation like?
The carbonation is,
I would say it's
a
fairly
little bit-
tame.
yeah, it is. It's not like, say, in a lager or anything.
But
like
it's not
that.
flat. It's not flat.
It's
though,
not
right?
flat, but it's not like overpowering. You can see here the head is gone on my pour, basically.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of lacing, not too much.
Yeah.
Sticking to the glass a little bit. But it is very refreshing. I'm kind of flashing here. Very refreshing. I really enjoy this. Like, if I could get this in a 6-pack, I would. In fact, I kind of don't think it should be sold in tall boys. I think that this should be sold in a 6 regular size can pack.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave,
So
what are your thoughts?
I was just gonna say, Dave, tell us more.
I'm liking it. For me, it kind of finishes with a little more edge than I might like. But I mean, basically what you guys said, it's quite funny. It's always amazing to hear you guys talk about this stuff and just kind of nail stuff, right? Well, and now that I can actually taste what we're talking about, because I mean, without even tasting it, I would say that Locke kind of nailed what's going on with this one, right? It's crisp, it's clean, it's refreshing, pretty easy to drink. It kind of got me thinking, and so I'm enjoying it really. I was kind of I think it was kind of what I was hoping for, something a bit lighter and easy drinking. But I kind of wonder, is this the kind of style that you might expect from a warmer climate? Because I'm kind of thinking, okay, what would you experience if you were drinking Japanese beer? I know that, they're not necessarily a warmer climate, but I think, those guys do, I think, have warmer temperatures. They've got a lot more humidity. So Asahi, like as an example, or what Tiger, I think, help me out here, guys. Tiger, I think is Thai.
Yeah, I believe it was. Yes.
Yeah, you can actually buy that here if you go into
Yeah.
the BC liquor store,
It's
right?
not. It's not imported from Thailand though.
It's sure. So they just brew
It's
it
bottled in Quebec.
here. Right. What else? The Mexican stuff, right? It all seems to have that kind of similar light, crisp.
Yeah,
You know,
well, look, there's a tradition of beer that's ultimately what it is pickled water. Because if you were to leave water standing, that is to say, in a condition where it wasn't moving around a whole lot, in some climates, you're going to get all kinds of critters running around in that water that you will not benefit from if you put them in your tummy. And so what there's a tradition of beer brewing that's ultimately about pickling water. It makes the water drinkable, preserved, as it were, by having just enough of an alcohol content that it's going to get rid of anything that's going to bite you.
yeah. No,
So
that's fair.
From Jamaica, perfect example of that.
Right.
So it's the same kind of thing, Locke. It's lighter, crisp. See, but for me, I'm curious if that is, yes, okay, definitely we're talking about, health, right? But my thinking is we could argue that about old Europe as well, and maybe even present day Europe.
Oh, yeah.
But what I wonder about with the lighter stuff is, well, it's kind of like us talking about, okay, for us, this is summer patio. This is burgers, Saturday night, chilling out with buddies, right? And yet, this is probably the kind of stuff that like an Italian would drink on the regular, or say a Mexican, because it is fucking hot. You don't want to drink like some of the porters that we enjoy and the heavier stuff, right? Where I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I imagine that the porters and that style of the heavier, Guinness, I guess, those are going to be from the colder, wetter climates where people are looking for something that's got a little more oomph to it. You know what I mean? A little more body.
I'd be shocked.
I don't know.
I'd be shocked if I went to a bar in Mexico somewhere and saw somebody pounding back, a porter or a stout or, a barley wine or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it happens. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
In that climate, if I were drinking something stronger, it'd probably be tequila. But yeah.
You know what I think would be kind of cool with this beer, Dave? And maybe this is because of the Italian Pilsner thing. What if you were to add a dose of like basil to it or oregano? Like in the mash.
That is, you've just named two things that I think could work alongside sort of, targeted hops really, really well. I don't know why I haven't seen more of that, but what you're describing sounds like a great idea. Why do we get a glut of people trying to put hot peppers in beer when you could put basil
Yeah.
or oregano?
Shane, next batch.
The next batch. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
on it.
You know what though?
I will bring it to the
Oregano.
table.
I could see oregano being a little challenging.
Well, look,
In my cooking, I realized, holy shit, you got to treat this stuff with some respect.
oh, yeah, no, exactly.
potent.
And I would suggest paying it the respect it's due, but certainly basil. I mean, it would elevate the sort of the scent of anything that was greeny hoppy. You know what I mean? In a
Yeah.
way that. Oh no! I think that's got to be tried. That sounds like an excellent idea.
I would totally try something that had that.
All right. It's on our to-do list.
Yeah,
Sweet.
mark that off as something that we should get to.
Totally. Shane.
All right, I'm the last one. Here we go. I'm going to bring myself up to the forefront. So today, boys and girls, what was available on the shelves this week is something I could not walk away from. But it is called Beetlejuice, as in beet.
Look at that.
Get it?
Yeah.
It's a beet, blueberry, blackberry sour ale.
Oh,
Wow.
From Foamer's Folly, which is out in it's that way, Poco kind of area, Pitt Meadows, I think it's where it's from, and it has an 18 IBU, 5.5 things of alcohol by volume.
Things of alcohol.
Yeah, things of alcohol, and I had reading glasses at some point, but apparently I don't get to have them anymore, but that's okay. So it says on the thing, let's turn on the juice and see what shakes loose. This vibrant sour has been pumped up by the addition of beetroot, blackberry, and blueberry, creating a puckering, sour, and deliciously juicy beer. So there we go. We're going to pop this open. Hey, Peanut Gallery! The Peanut Gallery has already come over to the desk a couple times looking for this, so I'm going to pour yours first because I can.
I've actually tried beet juice.
Here you go.
Like, that whole juicing thingy, and oh my god, beets are sweet.
Cheers.
There is a lot of sugar in there.
A little more. There you go. So this comes
I'm
in a
curious to see
4-pack
what
at your
Shane has to
local
say.
alcohol booze store. So I'm going to pour this out, try to make it foam. Not doing very well there. So there we go. That's what it looks like. It's sort of got a red, beeping out. Sort of got an orangey red, sort of really effervescent see-through
That is
ale.
really, really like the carbonation on that is just through the roof.
It's pretty amazing. So here we go. So this is. It smells really damn good. So here we go. Whoa! The sour is really heavy on the start, but let's go again. That is really good. That is something different. I don't think I've tasted that in a beer in a long time. I'm very surprised about how light it is, though. Like that is beaming out.
Yeah,
that is actually quite something. Okay, I recommend. I highly recommend.
What would the character of Beetlejuice say about it?
That's a very good question. He would probably hate it because it wasn't gross enough. If you were to douse it or dip a cake into it, that would be gross because it's definitely on the sweet end. This is almost like a sour thing that certain blonde people like. That guy there, the Radler addict.
Oh yeah.
But I
Really?
gotta say,
It's like that.
It's kind of like it's Radler-esque. It's definitely in that zone.
Okay.
Like they call it an ale, but I gotta say I'm kind of. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's quite good. I'm actually quite surprised. I got it because they've made the can look like it was done by Beetlejuice himself, right? So
Yeah.
Well, and that's
Um,
why people are going to buy it is because of the.
and yeah, they're following the marketing styling of who made the Ghostbusters one and a bunch of other ones. Don't cross the streams.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
lord.
yeah, yeah.
But I give it up for that.
Backcountry.
Backcountry, yeah. So I give it up for them to really tapping into the the 40 to 50-year-old market, where
Male.
they know the male exactly, where we're going to
talking
be,
about? What are you talking about? Are you seriously contending that there were no women that grew up
I'm not saying that at all.
on Beetlejuice as like the number of recovering goth chicks out there that will ultimately have Winona Ryder as their hero / jealousy model.
Room.
Like no. I think you're underestimating. I think there's a huge market of 40-year-old women who will see that tin and think of home.
Julian is watching, and he has given his cheers to the convoy. Now, let's
Look, when I was
Okay,
find
so-
out.
out there, Julian used to work for the post office. So if Julian were to go postal, it would be the real thing.
Okay, so last week, after we went offline, we started a conversation just privately, and we said, "No, let's save this. We're going to do this week while we're live." And
I
and
approve!
that did. So we started talking about underwear preferences, and Locke was talking
right.
about how he preferred boxers. And it was getting, like we were pretty entrenched in our love for different styles. There was a bit of a debate going on, so I said, "Let's stop this. We're going to talk about this week.
Going to settle this like gentlemen.
All right.
We're gonna settle this like men." Okay, so Locke, continue what you were saying about how you prefer boxers.
So you cannot, wearing Y-fronts, get out of bed, answer the door, and stand there looking cool, as if you're properly dressed. That's not going to happen. Or at least if you do that, even if you do that with all of the courage and dignity in the world, you still look like an idiot. But if you do that in boxers, it's just like you're wearing normal shorts.
Except for with boxers, you've got like that, like there's the opening there with like maybe the one little button or anything. It's like there's like almost nothing between, if something comes out of the door,
Yeah,
If something comes out of the door.
What do you call that?
No. I understand what you're referring to, and what I'm saying is that's why you buy the right ones, like the right size and all of that. Because if you buy them the wrong size, that's more likely to happen. And if you buy ones that are, like badly crafted, I guess that's more likely too. Thank God for that button. What the fuck?
Why put a button there at all?
Why put there a button there at all? Exactly. So I don't know what you guys do, but when I get my boxers, I usually just sew that bit shut because nobody ever uses it. When was the last time you dreamed? Oh, let's sort of pull this out.
Okay, so I have to be honest.
Why am I doing this? To take a
So
pee?
we're pulling stuff out now? What the hell's going on?
To be honest here, it's like if I'm like, because I sleep in my underwear, right? And I get up in the morning and I gotta take a leak, but I've been like tussling around in bed in my sleep, and they're all twisted around. everything. I'm trying to go find the hole to get my junk out, and I can't find the hole. So I have to sort of like make
What pull the elastic?
Oh, I never use the hole.
What any normal person would do, isn't it?
I suppose sometimes I use the hole, but I don't like boxers.
Why don't you like boxers?
And I said this last week offline, but I like to have everything kept together. I don't like things going astray. I don't want any wiggle waggle or anything going. Everything has to stay right where it's supposed to be. It's got to hang a certain way, and that's it. And but not tidy whities, not tidy whities.
Ford, is Ford an English name?
Is what?
Is Ford an English name?
My family is from Scotland.
Yeah, right. So I think the jangling around bit, that used to be pretty normal.
Yeah. All right. But I prefer having everything firmly in place. So boxer briefs are my choice.
So what, the ones that look like cycling shorts, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay.
And I'd feel much more comfortable wearing those going and answering the door than some billowy pair of boxer shorts where things are like, it's like disorderly and.
That's not where it becomes an issue. Where it becomes an issue is if you're sitting down on a couch with a coffee table. That's when things start to slip out. I know,
does the coffee table have anything to do with it?
What?
What does the coffee table have to do with it? Like, why does there have to be a coffee table there?
Up, right? You're putting your feet up, and
okay.
You see how that works?
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
they're not, but sure.
All right. So I need Shane and Dave to chime in here.
Yeah, Shane, where do you fall?
Dave, you go first. No, go first, Dave.
Don't say where do you fall on this.
You bastard. But actually, funnily enough, I more or less with Alan. I do the boxer brief thingy. But it's okay. I like boxers because I'm all about freedom. But here's the thing.
You might take my bikini briefs, but you'll never take my freedom.
You'll take my bikini briefs or my cold dead fingers or whatever. Where was I going with this silliness? No, so I like boxers for that. They're non-constricting, but they're a pain in the ass in the pants. Like they bunch up and they get
totally,
and they shift around and they just, for me anyways, they're terrible. There's a lot of extra material that is discomforting. So screw it. I don't do the boxers. The boxer briefs are kind of, they're not awesome, but they're a medium between, having things just kind of floating all over the place and having things basically jammed back up into your body.
It's like giving yourself a wedgie.
Exactly. So, so let's actually be clear here on what we're talking about. So I whipped together this little graphic here.
Graphic enough.
I put this here. So types of men's underpants: briefs, trunks, jock strap. I had no idea that was underwear. I thought that was a protection device, but whatever. Boxers,
well, the cup
boxer
is the
briefs,
protection device.
midway briefs, bikinis, thongs, and strings. Now, looking at Dave any day of the week, I suspect he's probably a bikini or a boxer, or a thong.
I think he's a strings guy.
Yeah, I know. I think. Well, that's where Locke. That's where Locke is.
Leopard print string.
But anyway, but basically, I think for the longest time I just wore underwear that I would buy at Mark's Work Warehouse, and for the longest time I just bought like the usual brief sort of thing, like the not tidy whities, they'd be black or gray or whatever, but it doesn't matter, the same style of brief. So, and I had those for the longest time, and I never really gave it much thought. It wasn't until I was doing a theater play, like a play, for kids, where I was on stage doing a bunch of running around and stuff, and I found them uncomfortable. So I actually went out and I went to this with the kids. I brought all the children, the entire audience with me, and I'm like, guys, you got to help me pick a new Ginch. Let's go. And so, so I thought I liked the look of the boxer briefs, and I never went back after that. Like I can't, but I can't deal with the sort of the. I really want my testicles to be jammed into my butthole, because that's kind of how I feel. Now, back then I couldn't remember, but anyway, so I didn't want my testicles in my butthole. So, I tried boxers for a while. I tried regular boxers that I thought would be a different extension to the boxer brief, and that's where you get the you either are hanging out everywhere and you're a little bit too free, or where like a nightmare that I've had for years was brought to me. The seed for that was brought to me while. We had back in like grade 9 or 10, probably I think grade 9. We had PE and whatnot. So our physical exercise, they actually they'd installed a new gym at Cedar Hill High School, and they said, hey, we have a new gym, we have workout equipment, let's go and go. Part of your exercise stuff is going to be that. We're going to learn how to lift weights properly. Okay, great, sure. So the PE teacher, he sits on the ledge, the ledges that had the registers in them where the hot air would blow out into the room. Yeah. So he sat on one of those, and he's got one of his legs up. He's doing kind of a Riker maneuver, and he's talking to us about, the safety and this sort of thing, as his testicles are slowly dropping out of his fucking shorts. And then they went and rested on, like they stopped and rested on the thing. And he had no idea this was happening. And we're all teenagers at, 14 years old, 13 years old, going, and the girls in the class are mortified. But all the boys are like, I don't think we ever told him that was happening. But anyway, so that's the visual I have when wearing boxers, is that you're like trying to talk to somebody and you're wearing boxers and your nuts are hanging out. You don't realize it. So after having a few pairs of boxers, I just said, forget it. I'm not wearing those anymore because my nuts were just, out for all display. So that's where I returned to the comfort of the boxer brief, because I find them the most comfortable. Now, the other thing is that, I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for underwear over the years. And have you noticed that there's now this trend over the last 2 or 3 years where the underwear are designed in a different way, where you have the underwear and then there's an actual cup for your package like a sack for your package to live with.
I've seen that.
So have you ever tried those? I've never been brave enough to try them. And it makes me feel kind of...
Sorry, run this by me? How does this...
Well, the way, like, picture boxer briefs.
Yeah.
The usual boxer briefs. They're whatever cut. But these ones have a pouch, essentially, at the front. So instead of your boxer briefs being on your body where your nuts are, like, crammed up against your body, you actually can pick them up and drop them into this little pouch that keeps them safely away from... Yeah. Apparently you're gonna hurt them or something. I guess that's what the whole jockstrap thing is about. So if you look at the jockstrap, but basically the boxer briefs, that area right in the front there,
it's a testicle bra.
A testicle bra. Yes, exactly.
Yes, that's what it is.
Testicle bra. There you go. So a testicle bra is built into these things, And I've never ever been brave enough to try them out. Maybe I should just feel that if my testicles require bra-like cupping or something. So
I do know that one of my kids wears them and likes
really,
them.
okay.
Yes.
Where is he?
Get
Get him on the show right now.
Get him on.
We're gonna ask him about his ginch. Tell us about what kind of cupping you get when you
Yeah,
stick your
he
nuts
doesn't
in
he
that
doesn't
sack.
live here anymore. But
Oh darn.
yeah, I think the brand name is actually, cheekily enough, Sax, SAXX.
That would
Okay.
not surprise me. That totally would not surprise me because she approves. So but yeah, so this little graphic just gives us all kinds of information. And actually, to go back to your point about the hole, I don't stitch mine together, but
I don't know
sometimes
how
I
to
do
stitch.
because, well, here's the thing, that there are definitely types of underwear that have different, you've got the usual sort of front cut where the flap where you open it up and throw your junk out to the world. But then there's the ones that have like the buttons, so there's not a lot of fabric.
Yeah.
Which I've had before, and I hate those because there's nothing worse than walking down the street and you can feel, your dick kind of just starting to slide out of that hole. It's like the worst feeling ever. And it's just not, because if you were standing still, then maybe be like, okay, I can get behind this. But the thing is,
Okay.
if you're moving and your legs are moving and everything's moving around, it's like, it's uncomfortable. It's like
it's a button on something. It's like replacing a button, except there's no button. It's just, it's like, I mean, look, I would use a stapler, except that would scratch, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that you have to be aware of where your junk is going to move to, because you've got to protect it. You've got to protect your jewels, because if you don't, and you make them feel uncomfortable, they're going to leave.
Okay, but look, you got to understand it. There's a difference between protection by micromanaging them and protecting them by giving them the freedom to jangle as they will.
Now, every so often, though, one of the things I actually do is I do fly commando. Is that there are moments where you kind of go, no, I don't need underwear today. You just have that feeling. It's like, no, I'm gonna let it fly. And here's the thing: it never bothers me. There's nothing.
Really?
There's nothing that bothers me about that. It's when you put the underwear on where that's where the issues sort of come from. So.
But I mean, it's like
Genitals were particularly prone to chafing. We would never have invented sex.
True.
So, but when you go commando, every time you have to zip back up, it's like you're taking your life into your hands.
That can be a concern. I think I've only in my life. Have you? How many people have actually?
Yeah.
How many of you have done that? Like, I've only probably done it maybe twice in my life, but you remember it. You remember.
Yeah. That's not one you'll be repeating much.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm reminded of that scene in There's Something About Mary.
It's funny you say that because I'm searching for that right now.
We got a bleeder.
I've had a lot of people tell me that Something About Mary is a classic. I have never seen it.
What?
Well, here you go. I'll give you a.
You need
the
to see it
face-
with people, though. You can't watch it by yourself.
Okay.
It's something that you have
True,
to watch
true.
with a bunch of people.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you go. So this is the face of Ben Stiller, who is the lead in it. Just as he zips it up, there's a very brief pause, and then he realizes what he did. So that is the face. That's right after the zip. Right after the zip. and but there's more. There's the let me find it. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, because of course you couldn't put this on the internet. So this is the result of the accident. So Jesus Christ. It's called the Mary Frankenbeans. And there you go. So that's what they cut to in the shot after the zip. So there you go. So that's yeah. If you haven't seen that film, it's worth a viewing. I suspect it's a movie that has not aged well, to be honest.
I think it probably has.
Yeah, it's been such a long time. I mean, I remember certain bits of it, but overall, I don't recall the whole thing. But I definitely recommend it for a viewing. But yeah, and then of course, okay, this is the best part. Sorry, I'm spoiling this for Locke a little bit.
No.
But so he does this, and then it cuts to at the time. And don't forget, at the time that he does this, he's supposed to be a teenager. He's having a reminisce about his experience as a teenager. So then
it's worse than that. It's worse than that.
He's at his girlfriend's house.
Sorry. Worse than Ben
prom
about being a teenager.
Not important. So imagine you're a teenager. You're about to take your date out to prom.
To the prom.
And you go to have a leak, and you do this to yourself.
The first time.
Oh, and somebody calls the fire department?
And so the girlfriend is worried. She calls the fire department. And the police show up, too, for some reason. So they all burst into the bathroom. Those are the parents. And there's the fire guy and the police guys on just behind him. And they're all like giving him advice about what to do. And then the ambulance people show up, too. So, you know, it's that whole idea of having a mortifying experience as a teenager where you don't really want to admit it. So, but there you go. There's something about Mary, a film that you should see because it was done by the something brothers, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so, and but my question is, what kind of underwear was he wearing? And I don't know.
He must have been going commando for that to happen.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I guess that's gotta be how that works.
But do you think a
teenage
boy would have that kind of confidence?
That's a good point.
Not so much confidence. I would say just arrogance.
Okay. That's fair.
Taking out the hot girl to prom. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Memories. Now, we don't actually have a prom in Canada, do we?
No.
Now, okay, actually, what is prom? Prom is it's not your graduation. It's like an event, like in grade 10. I think it's your 10 to 11.
No, I think it's kind of like the grad party type. Like we would just have like an after grad party.
What is prom?
It's
a dance called a prom. Maybe offered as a formal or semi-formal black tie, blah, 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 blah. Typically held near the end of the school year. And a lot of the time, apparently it is 11th grade. However, apparently the 11th and 12th grades have them at the same time. So you'd have a mix of those two grades. So basically, yeah, I'm assuming it's grad, but every time I've ever seen it depicted in film, they always seem a lot younger than graduating from high school.
This is again one of those things where it's sort of like, as Canadians, we grew up on American movies where we were looking at it kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe
what is that?
Maybe it's like this, or I don't know, fucking, you know. When you actually drill down on it, I have no idea how it works.
I'm trying to determine if
which kind of begs the question, like when we see things like that are really prevalent in American movies that we just don't have here in Canada, the whole Greek thing in post-secondary education.
Mm.
Like we don't
Or
have
the-
that here
the-
in
the
Canada
Greek
at all,
thing?
do we?
What the hell is the
I
Greek thing?
think we do actually, but it's very, very
Like
minimal.
fraternities and
Fraternities exist in Toronto at U of T. Yeah, I mean, like you get a bit of that, but is it the same as it is in the States? I doubt it. I don't know. Like
we've got the frat house that's like a party like every single night and like with kegs of beer and they're plotting ways to take down the dean.
I think like I grew up doing that, but it wasn't.
But you weren't in a fraternity for that.
No,
You just did that on your own.
No. That was instead of fraternities. That what they had was sort of like rock bands.
Right.
But yeah, no. Like, I mean, let's not forget that most of the people who like, yeah, I mean, Animal House was largely drafted by Canadians, but yeah, I mean, in Toronto, that kind of thing exists a bit. It's very eastern end of the country. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't get it a lot. There would be no reason for it to exist, particularly anywhere in Western Canada, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Because it's an artifact of what it really is an artifact of 18th century sort of Freemasonic societies kind of bleeding into speculative, like they had chivalrous orders and stuff like that back in the 18th century. That all dropped out mostly in the 19th century, but it was replaced with the fantasy of being Greco-Roman somehow. And so, and in terms of like cultures where you could legitimize the kind of behavior that you want to do when you're 23 and have an expense account, or you know what I mean? Like it's not something that I think there is something a bit elitist about it. I get that much.
I mean, when you really think about it, from my perspective, prom was not really. I was not terribly excited to go. I went because I had to, due to the fact that I was coupled at the time, and the girl wanted to go, and so had to. This is what I wanted my prom to look like, or my whatever you wanted, my grad to look like. This is what grad should have been like. Hanging out in the back of a truck, drinking beer, and in this case, paddling freshmen with a paddle. But that's what I think for
what I did. You know what I did for my prom, if you call it. Shane will remember this. I went to go see RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember liking RoboCop 2, and then in hindsight, not wondering why the hell I liked RoboCop 2.
Here's what's frustrating for me when I think back on it. Both for junior high school and senior high school, my prom dates were extremely beautiful. They were really, really pretty. And
do tell, who are these
and in the first case, we'd already broken up by that point. Nothing ever happened. We actually didn't like each other very much. So that was a fucking waste. Except that I looked good, which is important. It is important to look.
Yeah, I agree.
And the second one, actually, her and I got on a house on fire until sort of later that summer. But for whatever reason, that particular evening was an absolute dud. God, it was a fucking bore. We both looked fucking great, though.
I'm just thinking about all the films that depict prom, and there's like that from our sort of era of films, and like I'm thinking of things like Pretty in Pink, and surprisingly, wasn't the big dance number in Footloose, wasn't that at a prom?
Possibly.
Was that the event? Do you guys remember that? I
Yeah,
no?
I think it might have been.
Been a long time since I've seen Footloose.
I just remember that
My only
shot
real
of
memory of Footloose is listening to the sound that song, that title track, in the keg in Victoria.
Actually, wasn't the Enchantment under the sea dance? Wasn't that? No, that wasn't prom. That was just something. That was
just
formal.
that was a ceremonial rhythmic ceremonial ritual.
I can't do here, but Alan here that deserves a clink. There we go, clink.
And Napoleon Dynamite had a prom in it.
Oh right, they had the dance thing where didn't he go with whoever the female lead was? I can't remember.
Yeah.
The scene that I always remember from that film, because it was just so out of left field, was somebody had bought steak and had barbecued steaks, and Napoleon Dynamite is riding his bike down the thing, and like the characters are talking, and there's a very brief, very quick lead up to what happens, but if you're not paying attention, it's like you're watching two characters talk, and then somebody riding on a bike and getting hit in the side of the head with a stake, like, and falling off his bike. That's the scene I always remember, because my jam is absurdist comedy where just ridiculous crap happens. That's
Locke,
just works
you've seen Napoleon Dynamite, yes?
Yeah, I've totally seen Napoleon.
Oh, okay, good.
I'd vote for Pedro, but
he does some like some crazy fucking dance routine at the end. That's
that was like the talent contest. I think.
Yeah.
And his brother was training to be an MMA fighter or something, or a cage match fighter. The skinny little nothing dude, and he ends up talking to hotties online or something. Does he actually? He gets married.
Yeah,
he gets married near the end. Yeah, the Fonda, this woman he met online, and she's like, he's the best thing ever, and he's like, I love her so much.
Why are you so sweaty?
Oh my god, that's so awesome. Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of these, I guess I've missed some of that sort of cultural touchstone for U.S. cultures, so I haven't quite appreciated it as much as I could have. But I don't know, anything by John Hughes, man.
Yeah, no, John Hughes, quality director. So what killed him in the end?
I read an article.
He died relatively young.
He died relatively young. Now, yeah. He also, I think that he died from a broken soul, because he kind of disappeared after Curly Sue. Because Curly Sue is, I think, what, 91, 92, somewhere in there. And, he quit because the article that I read, which was in like the New York Times many eons ago, was that he died. He quit Hollywood because of John Candy's death. He felt that John Candy was not treated well in the film he was working on, and that he'd been abused by some productions prior to that. Because late '80s, early '90s was John Candy was like pumping them out, right? Mm-hmm. And he felt that he was being abused by the system, and then he died, and he basically walked away from Hollywood because he was like, you know what, it killed the guy that I was trying to protect, who had the fucking all talent in the world. I'm done. I'm out. And yeah, so he kind of vanished around then because he did a few things, I understand, but essentially he really just kind of disappeared. And but I'm just looking up his, like, what he actually died from. he traveled to New York City to visit his son and his son's new grandchild. He was fine. Then he woke up, took a walk down through Manhattan, and suffered a heart attack. So he was out for a walk, and he was only 59.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? Is that you never know. Could be over like that. But yeah, I mean, he sort of had his finger on the pulse of our sort of generation, and that sort of like he's obviously was older than us, but he definitely had an idea of how to express his experience in his films to our generation by being very familiar with what makes an 80s kid tick. These kids in high school. I've been out of high school for 10, 15 years. What actually, I want to tell that story, but in the that contemporary sort of way at the time. So, and also made them timeless too, because you could actually watch those films, and with the exception of a few technological advancements like the internet, you might not notice that the film wasn't happening today, kind of thing. I mean, today you can drive a car out of a plate glass window just like you could back in '86.
Well,
4 or 6.
True.
By the way, speaking of movies really briefly, if you watch movie trailers right now, notice one thing about them. At the very end, they always say the words exclusively in theaters. And you'd see that sort of once in a while, only in theaters. Now it's exclusively in theaters because of the whole some films being released as streaming elements as well.
Right.
I just noticed that today because an amazing film is coming out that we all have to see.
oh, what's
Sorry
that?
about that. Oh, I'll tell you later. We'll find the trailer.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
But other than that, boys and girls, we've been going for an hour. I'd like to thank the 428 people watching tonight. That you are. Alan's like, really? Thank you for watching again, and
I
making
don't
sure
believe
that we
you.
are keeping ourselves in track, on track. But I want to really give a big shout out to this guy, who is been drinking some beer. So thumbs up to you, man.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget
It's
to follow
been
us at all the socials
enjoyable.
and all that kind of crap. And make sure to click the like button and do the subscribe thing, because we don't ask people to do that often, but please do it, because otherwise, whatever. But as always, Alan, take us out.